4 to 5 p.m. time slot. The most coveted time slot in any trade show, convention or otherwise. I mean, so you got to sit through this, listen to some questions and answers, and then you can get the cocktail hour. So I appreciate you bearing with us. But hopefully this will be informative. But if we don't hit the mark in our presentations, please get the microphone or probably yell because there's not a lot of people in here right now. And ask any questions you have. So I think my topic, was what does the M2M space mean for carriers, or how does this all work out? I would say, in one word, it's about growth. Think outside the phone. I mean, that's sort of our mantra at Sprint. I mean, we've all done a good job at the carrier level in selling, handsets to subscribers, selling tablets to subscribers, selling laptops to subscribers. As a matter of fact, depending on what article you read, everybody in this room is carrying 1.6 devices. Okay, so frankly, very saturated from a carrier perspective. Yeah, so there you go. So there's 2.0, right? We've actually seen significant, with respect to this slide, you're going to see ratio of 8 to 1, 10 to 1, 12 to 1. In other words, the connections that will interact with on a business or in your individual lives on any given day with wireless connectivity. So some of the devices listed there we've already talked about. Think of video surveillance. Think of heavy equipment. Think of the healthcare devices we just talked about. Think of the connected vehicle, whether it's a cab, whether it's a bus, whether it's transportation, whether it's a subway, whether it's a train. I mean, being able to work and live and interact between the business and personal lives using wireless connectivity is just a substantial growth opportunity, not just for Sprint, but for this entire industry. Something we haven't seen since the early days of the internet, the early days of PCS services. This is another whole growth curve that we're getting ready to enter into. And the ecosystem that we've talked about and the platform that Enphase just spoke about, all those platforms are being invented to go after the space because the characteristics of supporting, managing, deploying, provisioning, and activating, and suspending, and moves, adds, and changes in the end world is very, very different because you don't have a human interacting on the other end of the phone, if you will. So anything that's outside the phone is our definition of M2M, and there's business models that are being created to go after every portion of the space. Touched on this, but I have, have a slide on this. So it's kind of the perfect storm for growth as well. If you take a look at if you're an existing business, how do you re-engineer your existing business processes to drive costs out of the business? Whether it's energy management, what we talked about, whether it's consumer or business energy management, whether it's utility, lots of efficiency to be created there. There's also the regulatory compliance issues happening within healthcare, within the utility space, within almost every industry. Laws are constantly changing, and therefore you need to adapt to and adjust to those regulatory changes such that they don't damage your business and therefore create more efficiencies in the need for taking a look at cost control across those categories. Let's just say that you're operating efficiently as possible. Well, there's new growth opportunities. So you can take a look at machine-to-machine for entering entirely new businesses. Progressive was first to market with something called usage-based insurance. I mean, they have advertising pretty much every day now talking about how we charge you based on how you drive, changing the entire dynamics for automobile insurance, going into fleet management, et cetera. So the connected vehicle, insurance, telematics, et cetera, is changing everything. And companies that don't change are going to fall behind, right? So the early adopters in the space, from a business perspective, are creating new business models for themselves or creating efficiencies that allow them to compete better. So if not now, when is really the question for the machine-to-machine space. Digital signage has been around for a long time, hardwired. What's the problem there? Not portable, not easy to move. Can't move the kiosk from one side of the building to the other, from one part of the campus to another. Can't put it on a truck and take it across town. Wireless, simple, fast, available, efficient, affordable. I mean, one thing that did hurt me is the chart on the utility, $5, that's 50 cents, okay? Talk about that from a business model perspective. Essentially, this stuff is affordable now. The networks are ubiquitous. They work, okay? Take advantage of the opportunity. So pretty much across the board, anything that can be wirelessly enabled is more valuable to the end user or to the business because you can take it with you, you can port it, it just instantaneous access to information is what it's about. Business model we talked about. So remote healthcare monitoring, don't need to mention that. We just talked about M2M connectivity. Let me just pause right there and talk about connected transportation. 5 years ago, somebody, let's just choose public transportation. There's all kinds kinds of subsegments. Let's just say a public transit system would come to us and say, we'd like to be able to deploy GPS solution in the bus so that we can know where our buses are and inform our passengers when the next bus is coming. That's one application. They said, we'd like to introduce telematics information. We know when the tire pressure is low and the oil needs to be changed. We need to manage our fleet from a maintenance perspective a little bit better. Telematics real-time information would be valuable to us. That's a second application. Then we said, well, you know what? We'd really like to provide an experience for our passengers while they're on our vehicle, introduce Wi-Fi to the passengers on the vehicle. Now we're saying, okay, we'd like to deploy digital signage inside the vehicle or even outside the vehicle so we can generate a revenue stream. 4 applications, one subsegment of transportation. And a lot of that infotainment stuff is happening with vehicles on the consumer side. So we started with simple safety and location information, OnStar type capability from General Motors. It has evolved to infotainment. How do you do gaming in the back seats? How do you provide hotspot capability within the vehicle for infotainment, et cetera? That's expanding. Vending machines. In the old days when a bag of corn chips was 25 cents and you had a quarter in your pocket, that would be great. But then when you started increasing the prices, your crumpled dollar didn't work, right? So, they started introducing credit card transaction authorization. The next application was now you buy a $100 phone or some type of high-end electronics device, you need a credit card authorization. That's another application for wireless because you can move the machine around. It's easier, simpler, faster. You don't have to integrate with your ERP system from a networking perspective. But now what's happening is how you intelligently refresh that vending machine. How does the machine tell you what it needs? So when you dispatch your delivery truck, you've got the right product, the right amount of product, and you're more efficiently operating your dispatch for vending machines. So intelligent vending machines, insignia of the little buddy in Best Buy. Just think of it as tracking. Millions and millions and millions of devices. So whether it's people, pets, packages, tracking, huge. All of those are opportunities to provide value across that chain. So when we take a look at working with a customer, an enterprise customer, somebody coming out with consumer connected devices, we take a look at, people want to start with speeds and feeds. And certainly this conference is about LTE versus WiMAX and my 3G versus your 4G, all this kind of stuff. No, step back, take a look at the business model. Not all applications created equal in terms of the latency needs, the bandwidth needs, etc. Take a look at what the actual application is, and then customize it based on the ultimate user experience. So from our perspective, we take a customer through, okay, how does this need to be branded? Your brand, my brand. Do I bill it? Do you bill it? Do I provide customer care? Do you provide customer care? Do I move it through my distribution? Do you have your own distribution channel? Right? So if you take a look at all those elements, how you address this marketplace means the more services I provide, the higher prices, the least amount of services I provide, just network access. I can still provide, the smart grid companies a price point that allows them to sell into the marketplace because they're taking on a lot of more responsibilities there on the partner side, right? So it's how we can meet those price points and both of us can still be in a win-win situation. That's sort of how we do it. So I wanted to address, how do you see that downturn in revenue? The more I do, the more revenue I get, but I can still make a lot of money by offering lower price points if somebody's taking on more of the ecosystem directly. Think of it as a wholesale model. And that's really it. So at Spread, our mantra is really, open platforms, open systems, open architectures, but certainly it's open minds around a business model. Let's take a look at the end user experience and reverse engineering to the right technology so that we have a win-win situation when we go to market. Right on time.
Perfect.
Good.